Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today to do Hunter x Hunter 2011 episode 122 review. That is 122 of Hunter x Hunter. Of course, that link is going to be in the description box down below on Crunchyroll.com. Now, before I get started, two things. First of all, I want to give big ups to Juan, who has won the PlayStation 4. That's already en route. It's out of my hands. And right now, what we're going to do on Patreon.com, I did make a video about it right here. Basically, we are now going to go for 2 PS4s, and we're going to go for 2 sets of 10 volumes. One set is going to be chosen by poll. The other set is going to be whatever you want. So that's that right there. Again, video right here. And also go in the box down below on Patreon.com for more details. That's number one. Number two is that if you've noticed in the episode, there is a change of voice actor for Chairman Netero. And the reason why, if you guys don't already know, the former voice actor for Chairman Netero, Ichiro Nagai, passed away late January this year. So that's why there is a distinct voice change when it comes to the character Netero in Hunter x Hunter. And it is very unfortunate because he is missed. That's very obvious. And may rest in peace. So, that being said. This week's episode. Well, first of all, I'm going to throw this really early out. Like, really early. There has always been this, I can't say, like, there's been, like, flame wars, but there's been this friction I see sometimes between the guys who prefer Hunter x Hunter and the Naruto cats. And one of the main reasons why is because the Hunter x Hunter fans always refer to Kishimoto taking things from Togashi Yoshihiro, even though Yoshihiro has taken things from Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball Z. And that's very obvious in Miriam, who looks just like Cell. But when it comes to the 100 Type Guanyin Bodhisattva, what he's rocking right now, Chairman Netero, Hashirama is doing that in the manga. And of course, we all know that even though Togashi loves his hiatuses, that came out first in the Hunter x Hunter manga as opposed to it coming out in the Naruto manga. So this does give, I mean, even though it's probably existed in other series, it is one of the founding issues that the Hunter x Hunter fans do point at when it comes to those discrepancies between the two series. So, I mean, I'm going to throw it out there right now. And I'll let you guys debate about that on your own. But that's just the way it is. Now, that being said, though, when it comes to the episode, it has 3 main things going for it. Well, 4 kind of, if you want to consider that Gon's pressure has somewhat wavered. And I say somewhat, meaning it's minuscule at best. Because after hearing the explanation from Pitu about what occurred when it came to the king, when it came to Zeno, and when it came to Chairman Netero who were there, and Komugi, basically, Gon's eyes that were sharper have now dulled down a little bit. His gaze has now wavered slightly. It's like very slightly. So, I mean, he's still on the border, like his rage is so great that he's still on the border of insanity. But the thing here is that it's somewhat dialed down a little bit. Like he was at like 100%, now he's at like 99.8%, something like that, okay? But the thing is that when it comes to Poof and Yuppie, so let me start there. First of all, basically Poof, after he does his little Beelzebub thing and the flies, like the main body actually like leaves. Like right now in the area where Gon is, that's a dummy. But most of his fly clones are actually outside the body now. A certain percentage. And basically he's talking to Yuppie. And he's noticed how Yuppie's grown up. So both Yuppie and Pitu have gone through these changes, these character changes. And Poof is very aware of them, but in a bad way, and as in the sense that he's afraid of these changes and how they may not be beneficial towards the king. So, because you can see how clearly because what's very interesting is that when you take a look at the 3 Royal Guard, Monta the Yuppie, Shao Poof, and Never Pitu. Never Pitu, now she seems to be a lot more motherly, you know, like more human aspects are now entwined with her character. If you take a look at Yuppie, Yuppie has always been someone that has found a magical beast more so than anything else. And he has had this sense of individualism, this sense of self, this egoism that now is protruding from him because of his experiences with the hunters. But if you take a look at Poof, all right, number 3, he still retains a lot of his Chimera Ant mentality. More so, everything I'm going to do is going to be for the sake of the king. And even though he's overblown as a character, because a lot of times we see him, he over-dramatizes things, and he starts to play the violin, he starts to twirl around, like, I should die, I lost faith in the king for a split second, and then I should kill myself in a pool of, I'm like, dude, like, chill, relax, like, take it easy, bring it down. But you see how he's retained a lot of the, you know, like, he's retained more so the Chimera Ant aspects of his being, where Pitu is now leaning more toward the motherly human type of thing, and Yuppie is more of the individualism, you know, like, that's my whole thing going on now. And Yuppie has actually grown to the point where he realizes, he's fully aware of what's going on with Poof, and Poof, he asks him that question to deliberately test him. So Yuppie has really gone through a dramatic character change, that's obvious. And he knew that this was a test. And he basically said, he gave an earnest question. I mean, he gave an earnest answer that would actually coincide with Poof's own beliefs and Poof's own thoughts. Like, yeah, well, isn't it obvious? The king, let's go. You know, he pulls out, like, the wings, and now he's on some Pegasus mode, and he has the wings and the horse body, so he's going. So right now they're going east to where the king should be. And I must point out that when it came to Zeno, notice how Zeno's dragon head, how it was able to actually span a great distance in a few minutes. Very impressive. So, you know, my belief is that at some point in the future, if and when Togashi continues the Hunter x Hunter manga, if and when, if and when, because people are saying that he's going on permanent hiatus. I don't know, man. I don't know with this guy. I don't get it. Stop playing Dragon Quest. Wake the kick. Get him out. Fuck. Get out of the house. Go, dude. But people, I believe that if ever the end of Hunter x Hunter comes, if ever, Killua will be stronger than his grandpa Zeno. I believe that strongly, and Silva too. It's just that, you know, Zeno's still very impressive. Now, that being said, let's move on. The main stuff going on here is the Guanyin, and it's the king. First of all, the king! Yo, you want to talk about a character change? The king has gone through a dramatic character change, but the Yuppie's character change was in the time span of a few minutes. For the king, it happened over the course of a few days to a few weeks, and maybe a few months, where which he now knows what his power should be used for. And he explains how, if you take a look at the territories, the borders of the human world, on one side, poverty, and then hunger, and, you know, that kind of stuff, okay? Where people are impoverished, and they cannot even make enough money to meet their needs ends every day. Where on the other side, we have fat cats like Diego or Kim Jong, who have too much money, who have dancers, who have all types of food for just one sit-down meal that they probably throw away when they're done with it anyway. So, in that sense alone, he considers it madness. Because it is insane to a certain degree when you think about it. And he explains how, yes, when I start initially with my conquest of the world, I will use power and fear to gain dominance. But when I finally get to where I want to be, I will use this power to protect the weak. that deserve to be protected. I'm like, yo. Because it's a very strange, I can't recall where I've seen that before, or when I've heard a character say that, but it's very fascinating from that concept alone. Because when you take a look at the broad scheme of manga and anime, very rarely will I see a character actually say something along those lines. Where, yeah, because think about the king at first. The king at first, he was like, my power is you. I'm going to dominate the world. Fear. I'm the one above all. In the sense of the actual Hunter x Hunter world, not the actual comics. No, not that dude. But he is the one above all. And humans are livestock. They are his feed. And they should be considered nothing else but feed. Just how humans consider cows and pigs and chicken feed, to him, humans are his feed. And we see that this is a very strong chimera ant-related mentality. However, over the course of the few months that he's been with Komugi and playing the game Gungi, how this indomitable king, with strength alone, could overpower anybody he wanted to. And here's the key thing. Again, with strength alone, he could overpower anyone he wanted to. But yet, in terms of the game itself, Gungi, he was always inferior to someone like Komugi. His indomitable strength was overcome by a blind girl. And for a period of time, he had to actually consider what was the true meaning of power. What defines power? Is power strength? Is power charisma? Is power your physique? Is power your intelligence? What defines power? And for a period of time, the king had to actually consider what that meant. And he seemed to actually fall back in his character when he decided that his power was simply put his brute force, was the right to dominate others. And when he was going back to kill Komugi, and Komugi was attacked by that hawk, he killed the hawk. And he actually was very delicate when it came to Holy Komugi. He tended to her wounds. And when he was doing that, in his mind, he's wondering, why am I doing this? Why can't I just kill her? Like, why can't I kill her? I'm stronger than her. She's a fly in the wall to me. But yet here I am being so delicate. I'm extremely worried about her health. I mean, even more so to the point where it came to the dragon dive, and when the dragon dive pierced her, and he was holding her as if like she was his bride. And what you need to also keep in mind here is that it ties into what Poof was saying, and why Poof is so worried. Because in the sense of the game Gungi, if the king were to never ever beat someone like Komugi, a blind girl who seems so weak, so pathetic, the king in this sense alone will never be indomitable, because Komugi in death will be exalted, will be forever exalted in at least the king's mind to be someone that is superior to himself. So it's this whole aspect of understanding that certain types of powers should be utilized in a specific way, either for the greater good or for the individual. And the king has come to realize that my power, though I will use fear, though I will use this power to dominate the world, I will protect those who are worth protecting, despite the fact that they're weaker than me. So it's this very unique and, I'm going to say, refreshing character development, because you hardly see this in a lot of mainstream shonen. Alright, I mean, again, One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, I love Toriko. In a lot of mainstream shonen, this kind of character development is rare. It's very rare. But you get this in a Hunter x Hunter more so often than not, because you got it in Yuppie, you got it in the King, you're getting it in P2, so you got 3 characters right there who have gotten in this arc alone. Let alone characters like Gon, who have been traumatized to a certain degree, where rage to the point of insanity, where you have, well, no, let me stop there, because then I'll go on forever. I really will. But it's this unique and refreshing character development that you gotta respect about Togashi. Like, you really do. You really do. And that whole notion of power, I dig heavy. I dig very heavy. So let's move on. And then what's also fascinating too was that he came there not for the purpose of fighting, not for the purpose of communicating with fists, but communicating with words. Something that was completely foreign to him when he was first born. I must point that out. So it shows you the extreme rate of acceleration when it comes to the not just the Nen growth, but also the intellectual growth as well. When it comes to the Chimera ants, they grow at such an extreme rate where he's able to actually come to these conclusions within a few months' time. Wherein which, even though in the sense of time, he's an infant compared to humans, and when it comes to a mindset, when it comes to his intelligence, he has exceeded so many humans. So, I mean, like, even let me throw it out there, right? Even human scholars wouldn't think along the lines that he does. How something as simple as borders and territories, and one side poverty and, you know, war and death, and the other side wealth, prosperity, fat cats. Something that he's able to perceive in a few months' time is phenomenal. So again, Meruem, props. So what happens here is that Chairman Netero, he sees this going on. He sees that this individual, all right, he's not gonna fight him. He wants to talk. He all he wants to do is talk, which is rare because, again, most times characters, we're gonna speak with our fist. Yeah, fist. Yeah. He's no fist. Sit down. Let's talk. Let's have an open debate. Let's have an open debate about the world. Zewel, Dio. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, yo, like, that's pretty damn cool. But of course, Netero sees the change. He sees where the king is lying, and how these two conflicting sides, the Chimera Ant side or the human side, are right now, they're waging like some kind of internal war in Meruem's mind. And he doesn't realize that, the king, Meruem. So Netero decides to bring out the heavy guns. And remember how when it came to his flashback of the training, how every time when he went through the training, he'd bring his hands together, he'd pray, he'd give thanks to the martial arts, and then he'd punch? Well, we see him do that same thing, and that activates his Nen, the 100 Type Guanyin Bodhisattva. Alright? And yo, it's Beastly first hit! Yeah! I'm like, yo! But it did nothing. This does nothing, man. This does nothing to the king. Nothing. And the king, he's like, not bad. Not bad, not bad. I mean, even though there was mad hype, the moment he walked, it's like the air shudders, like the air ripples, and like all of a sudden it gets like black and white, except for him. Then there's like this giant golden light, and I'm like, oh my god. So there's mad hype on this thing, but it does nothing to the king. It does nothing, and the king sits back down. Then he attacks again, because mind you, when it comes to Chairman Netero, in the sense of Meruem's character development, it would waver Netero had not he have the job. The job, right? Statham, it's always about the job. I gotta get the job done. The job. The job itself is far more important than the development of the king's psyche. So he has to get the job done, and he has to try, keyword, to nip this in the bud. Because if he doesn't, then it's going to be catastrophic in the sense of humans becoming inferior to the Chimera ants. Even though some humans will be exalted due to the king's own will. But those he sees fit to protect. But that being said, though, he does another attack, tries to squash the king, fail. Yeah. And the narrator points out how Netero's own outburst were nothing more than a child's outburst in comparison. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, Netero's looking beastly right now, but it doesn't. This means nothing to the king. It doesn't mean shit. I have no idea why I'm saying that. I like it though. It just means nothing. And the king once again sits back down. Netero says, "Yo, if you want to use words, well, I know your name, and if you can beat me, I'll tell you your name." So, even though the king has grown in a lot of ways, he hasn't grown in other ways because now he's being swayed by Chairman Netero to attack. And I must point out that Chairman Netero, when he was rubbing his mustache, he had this real evil smile, like, "Yeah, I know your name, buddy. Come on, let's go." And I'm like, what the fuck? But Miriam's like, yeah, fine, let's go. So, I mean, I guess because knowing his name is going to be significant because he has to have an identity. If you don't have a name, you have no identity. You don't have, you can't attain something like Yuppie has, where he's attained this sense of self. So, I'm just pointing that out. But that being said, I am done. Long review. It is, but it's a good episode. Well, no, to be quite honest, the episode rating is going to be amazing. It is. It's an amazing... Fuck that shit. It's a yo. Because I'm trying to think of any flaws. There are no fucking flaws. This is a yo episode of Hunter x Hunter. Duh. Derp. And I must point out that right now the fight is in heat up. And we have Yuppie and we have Poof, and they're on the way. Now, note how the only thing going on aside from that is what's going on in just Gon and Pitou. So the main focus now should be the king, and it should be Chairman Netero, which is going to be good. So we're going to see the king go, and notice how the king, he has a stance, like a martial artist stance. And I'm like, what the fuck? So we'll see where the king goes. We'll see where he goes. But that being said, I'm done. King of Lightning. The episode rating overall is a yo. There are no flaws. It is nearly perfect. Nearly. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there are flaws somewhere, but I don't see them. I mean, maybe because either I'm blind because the king is awesome. I'm blind because Chairman Netero is epic. I'm blind because I love Togashi, even though he's a hiatus master. So, yeah, he has attained mastery of the hiatus. It's phenomenal with this guy. So, but yeah, regardless, episode rating is going to be yo. And I will see you guys later. Peace. Have a nice day.